Welcome to Confessions Anon, the podcast where we say the quiet parts out loud. Anonymous confessions, messy thoughts, bad decisions, big feelings, and absolutely zero shame. Okay, maybe a little shame? I'm your host, Destiny, and this is your reminder that if you're spiraling, oversharing, or questioning your life choices, you're in the right place. Because therapy is expensive and honesty is free. So buckle up, sip your drink, unclench your jaw, and let's get into today's confession. So I wanted to ask my husband a question, but he was in the other room and couldn't hear me, so I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. And then I started writing down a whole bunch of questions and decided why not make the next episode Confessions with my husband. And I think it's like super important timing because the Bad Bunny Super Bowl performance just happened and it's got so many Americans really mad. So I thought, you know what? Why not get like an inside perspective from someone? Okay, before I ask the questions, I'm going to introduce you to my husband, and this is the first time I'm featuring someone, so I almost completely skipped that part. But here's my husband. I'm going to open the floor up to him for a second to introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Jesus, and Destiny and I have been married for, I would just want to say years now, because technically, I like to just say that we've been together for more than a decade. We've been together
Almost
11
12
years,
years.
almost 12, and I love her to death.
Oh, that's all you want to say?
Yeah.
You don't want to like introduce yourself any more than that?
Well, what are you looking for?
I don't know.
Like in this context, like, do you want to say like where I grew up, like
No,
where I was
just
born?
asking. So if a mic was given to you to introduce yourself, that's all you'd say? Is I'm Destiny's wife? I mean, Destiny's husband?
Well,
Okay, so that is Jesus. He forgot to mention that he likes to go by Jesus. I was waiting for him to say that because
Oh, I
every
see.
time I call him Jesus, he says who? Because he introduced himself to me as Jesus, and that's what he's always wanted to be called.
Yeah, that's all my friends called me that growing up.
Okay, my first question that inspired this entire thing is, how do you feel about people still being mad in 2026 about different language and diversity?
I think people refuse to be open-minded, and really, I don't really get what the whole problem is, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really affect you. Um, I could be speaking Spanish to my kids at the grocery store, talking about snacks. Why does it matter at the end of the day? I think people are hung up on the wrong issues, and it doesn't hurt anyone to speak a different language or have a different culture, especially if it's not hurting you or anyone around you. At the end of the day, people care about the wrong things, and I think it's a very close-minded thing to say, "Hey, my culture is the only culture that matters." I grew up in a Mexican household, and I love all the things that I grew up with, but I also grew up for the most part in the U.S., and I love a lot of things from here, and I love a lot of things that I see online from other cultures. So we should embrace change and diversity, not suppress it.
Yeah, and I feel like I grew up in a closed-minded household because I do know when I was way younger, there were times that I told you that people should know English if they live here. And now I'm like, they would know English if they needed to for that job. But if they don't need to know the English, then it's fine. They still contribute and live their life and everything.
Well, I mean, does the house cleaner need to know English to do her job?
Not really, and you can communicate, like you can still communicate
Right.
in other ways.
Does the garbage man?
Now, how do you feel though, just a side question, about then having to like be the translator?
about being the translator
How do
for
you
my.
think kids feel having to be the translator for like the
I think
parents?
it's not ideal. I think a lot of us have probably grown up with that, and um, I mean, I was never able to get it one to one. At the end of the day, I do think that there should be resources available. I mean, there are translators at hospitals and stuff like that, but there's just certain things that, you get a tax document or you get some kind of piece of mail that even you as a kid don't understand. How are you expected to um, fully grasp what they're talking about or even explain? You might be able to say it, translate it word for word, but you have no idea
They
what it
should
actually
have people
means.
doing that. They should have more people readily able to do that. So the kid doesn't have to do it.
Yes, but I mean, how do you, back in the early 2000s, there wasn't a chat GPT to scan a document,
Oh, I'm starting to
and
become a chat GPT hater.
I think it's got good and bad. That's another topic,
Yeah.
though. But there wasn't something that could auto translate a document, and I mean, even now,
True.
his, you'll
But why
you'll
didn't
you'll
they
get a
hire
you'll
more?
it's not about that. I mean, you a lot of people have come here to try to build a better life and contribute, but there is that understanding that things aren't gonna be easy. That language barrier is difficult, but that being said, it's not like language or English is not taught. Did you know that English is in the curriculum in most Latin American speaking countries?
Oh, okay.
Like, if you go to, if in Mexico, at least nowadays, English is highly, highly considered as a class part of your curriculum. A lot of people, I mean, it might be basic. You're not taking it the entire time, but a lot of Mexican kids in high school and university can speak very basic English.
True. It's like a superpower, honestly. I did grow
Yeah.
up in a house where, I mean, my dad did say there was value in knowing Spanish. So if my dad can see that value, then everyone should see the value in maybe them learning Spanish
Did
too.
you know that America, as a country, has the second highest Spanish speaking population in the world? The first is Mexico as a country. The second is the United States.
Oh, wow.
And one last thing I want to say, because you've got me rambling. What is the big deal with learning other languages when most European countries, or just countries not that are that are not American, most households speak more than one language?
And it should be taught when you're children because you're sponges as children. It is harder as an adult.
Yes.
And honestly, I've tried for so long. There's something wrong with my brain. Something in my brain does not let the words even form to come out of my mouth.
No, I think you're just embarrassed in your head.
It's not that. It's literally not that.
We could try all the time,
It's
but you think I'm
not
making
that.
fun of you.
It's literally not that.
Okay.
All right, we got carried away. We're moving on to question 2. How does it feel living in America as someone who was not born here?
I think growing up, you felt a sense of not having a place where you belonged. Um, I've told Destiny this before, but there was a saying that I heard when I was a lot younger in Spanish, ni de aquí ni de allá, which basically just translates not from here or from there. I came to the U.S. when I was really, really little, um, before I could speak, let's put it that way. And I always felt like growing up here, I wasn't Mexican enough for my family in Mexico, but I was never American enough to feel like I belonged here. So I think that's something that a lot of people can resonate because they try to hold on to the dream that your parents kind of thrust upon you. I think a lot of these situations, your parents came over. I don't, they had good intentions. They wanted a better life. They for themselves and their kids. Um, and it was a lot of pressure to kind of live up to those expectations.
Different lifestyles, like wanting you to live like you were still in Mexico, but in a completely different country.
Right. So,
So you're kind of the black sheep.
yeah, in a sense. But I'm also really proud of a lot of the things that I grew up with. I cling on to a
I think
lot
you're
of
proud
the
of all of it, honestly.
I cling on to a lot of the like the experiences I had when I was a kid, like all the food, all the snacks, all the music that I listened to. Um, and I mean, my I had loving parents, and I think that instilled a lot of uh, values that maybe uh, I don't know, maybe you don't see anymore. Um, all they really ever wanted was for us to grow up and be good people and be able to think for ourselves and work hard for what you want. And coming back to that first question, how can you how can you hate people for just wanting a better life and trying to contribute?
Well, they say you have to do it legally, but they don't necessarily make it easy or affordable. So you do contribute so much to the country, quote unquote, illegally, when they could have just made it easier to come in the first place.
I think that's a big immigration topic that we probably don't want to get into, but I agree it's not easy. It shouldn't be just like, hey, walk in, fill out an application, and just get in. I mean, yeah, you should be just making sure you're not letting a terror some I don't know some kind of terrorist in, but
There
you
needs to
know
be
what?
complete. It's hard to talk about it because we don't know it. There, we
Right,
don't know exactly.
right, because I can't claim I know what the answer is, or
Right.
like I know you know anything about
I only brought it up because that
national
is the
security,
argument.
but
That's the only reason I bring it up is that
um,
that's the argument. Well, you should have done it legally then.
but here's my problem. If I've been here, you know, 20 years with no crimes, I'm contributing, I'm just living my life like a normal person. Why am I
A target.
a target?
Okay, my third question. What was your life like growing up and what did you dream of being? Did you feel different?
We were very growing up. We were all really close. Um, we were the only family we had growing up. I never got to experience like family gatherings or reunions or going to hang out with a cousin or anything like that. It was just my immediate family: my mom, my dad, my brother, and my two sisters. So it was really isolating for us. Eventually, we had an uncle here as well, but that was about the extent of our family, and maybe we'd have some family um, come over. My grandma used to come over, my aunt used to come over, but it was never for a super crazy long amount of time. Maybe I think my grandma came over for maybe 2 3 weeks at the most, and then she got too old to come, and it's just expensive. We just can't ask everyone to come see us. So, we really relied on each other a lot. That's why I ended up being so close with my sisters when I was younger, my brother, but also me myself. I'm a middle child. My older brother was 6 years older than me, and my sisters were 5 years younger than me. So, I was in middle school while my brother was a senior. My sisters were in elementary school, basically babies, I feel like. So I was never able to really hang out with them outside of the house. So I had to make my own friends. So um, that was kind of isolating. And then growing up, I really just wanted what my dad had. My dad had a job he was supposedly happy at, and he'd been there for a really long time. He was a chef, so I thought I wanted to grow up and be a chef. And then I grew up and I saw him working 80 hours a week and every weekend, and noticing that he wasn't there for some holidays, and he would miss out on birthdays. And if I think about it, he was never there for basically any sporting event that I ever did because he had to work. And um, I didn't want to go down that path. So I had to figure things out at that point. So I kind of gave up on that dream after I became grown up, so to speak.
Okay, the next question is, you used to say you wanted the American dream, marry a white woman, have the white picket fence. How do you feel about that now?
Well, I don't know about marry a white woman.
You said, okay,
That
sorry,
wasn't.
marry an American woman.
I don't think I ever said that.
You did.
No, I think I said that as a. I think I said it as a joke. Taking all the white women.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, growing up, you wanted, you. It goes back to that pressure growing up. Your parents brought you here for a reason, to make the most of the land of opportunity.
It's also probably like the only commercials you saw. Like,
Well, I mean,
your mind was probably infiltrated so young, like, to believe that's.
Well, I mean, I learned English at a young age in school. I took ESL, I think, kindergarten and maybe first grade, but I picked up on
I thought
English
you
really
learned.
fast.
Oh, you learned how to read from video games.
Yeah, but I learned how to read from playing
But English.
Pokemon Silver. But yeah, video games taught me how to read. But yeah, I mean, growing up, it was hard because you didn't know if you were going to go to college, if you could get those resources. I'd basically given up on that dream, um, because of our situation. Um, so I think I didn't try hard enough in school because I didn't think there was a way for me to financially be able to afford going to college on my own. And my parents sure didn't have that kind of money either. But yeah, I mean, I I wanted a nice house and a white picket fence and what the American dream had promised, but
That was a lot more of a thing when we were younger than it is now.
yeah, now
People
where
don't like talk about the white picket fence now, but that
because
was a
that
thing when we were younger.
because I think that dream is dead.
It
Um,
is because
it's no longer affordable enough to uh, buy a house, to do all these things without significant income. Um, you know, the price of college is ridiculously expensive. People are not getting their money's worth out of it. Wages have not gone up, and it's incredibly hard to find these higher paying jobs without 20 years experience. I'm exaggerating, but you see what I'm saying.
hmm
But I mean, I just turned 30 last year. I'm going to be 31 gross, and um, I don't think that the white picket fence dream is necessarily dead in my head. We just have to start going about it a different way.
I just think that we, instead of a white picket fence, we have like a rainbow picket fence. Like, I just think that we are alternative to what we were told and thought we would live. And I mean also unlearning things, so it's just really confusing.
Well, I don't think the color of the fence makes any difference. I'm saying,
It's
like, the
it's a
idea.
saying.
The idea. I'm saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be a white picket fence anymore, but I will say as I've gotten older and have children, their things have shifted in perspective a little bit. You don't need a massive house to be happy. It's not all about money. Yes, money absolutely runs the world and it's helpful and can give your kids experiences like Rosie's gymnastics and us being able to try basketball even though Roman hated it. Um,
Taking them to the
Taking them
zoo.
to the zoo and
Just, I mean, honestly, the luxury of being able to drive to the park.
yeah, I mean some people don't even have reliable cars to get them to and from.
Some
So,
people literally don't leave their house at all because they can't.
right, and I mean I understand that these are luxuries that we have that other people don't. I mean, some people are struggling to afford to eat on a daily basis. Child starvation, more children are starving now than they were 10 years ago. And, I'm grateful for what we have. So just getting older, things get put under a different light. What's important, what's not. And I think we're doing a good job of trying to figure that out together.
My next question, is it important to you for your kids to speak Spanish? If so, why?
Feels like a loaded question because I should have been doing more. And I beat myself up about it a lot in my head. Um, but yes, I do think it's important, not just for their future, but also because I don't want them to lose that part of themselves and what I try to hold on to or feel how I felt growing up, like they didn't know where they belonged. So I think that's the big part of it. I want to be able to share that they know where they come from because there is a lot of identity crisis for me growing up and having them know where they from and what that means and being able to connect to um, themselves as people, but also being able to connect with other people, I think is really important. And having that perspective.
For me, I just want the future generations of our family because we're starting over and starting a complete new like branch. I want the future generations to also speak Spanish. Like I want our kids to instill that in their family. So it wasn't like just like a question to think about, you know?
I know
Something to think about.
I know it wasn't a dig.
Okay, and our last question is what is something you want people to take from this?
I want people to know that people come from all different walks of life. People all have different kinds of life experience. I mean, I am from Mexico City, and Destiny is from Delaware, and we met in Kansas, and
We met in Missouri, actually.
oh yeah, we
Kansas
actually met in
City.
Missouri.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kansas City, Missouri. Um,
but we lived in Kansas.
but we lived in Kansas. So you never know where life is going to take you, and I mean that was who would have thought that was ever going to happen from completely different walks of life, but um, keep an open mind about
Took a lot
your
of work to
neighbor,
get here.
your friends, and try to put yourself in other people's shoes because you never know what someone has gone through in life and what kind of experiences they've had. And it's not a bad thing to look at the other side and say, well, this is something I can relate to or we have common ground in. I think everyone is so quick to judge nowadays. So just keep an open mind and be willing to have a conversation with someone and just learn about people, because the time we have here is the only time we have, and you got to make the most of it. And we can't live in fear or hate or mistrust, and that all just stems from people being scared of change. And change can be scary, but change can also be an opportunity. So, talk to that person.
Thank you for being brave and sharing your story on a whim with me and my audience. I did not read these questions to him beforehand. He went into this blind, and this was extremely unplanned. And what's the word when something is really quick?
Spontaneous?
Spontaneous. This was very spontaneous, and hopefully the start of something new where I interview people, because I really liked it. I might interview my husband more about maybe less sensitive topics.
We could always just talk things out.
He does love to talk. We could. Yeah, so this was the start of something just crazy. It's past midnight right now. So that is the end of this episode, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it, and I will see you next time. Want to keep up with the chaos? Everything you need, episodes, confessions, and where to find me is at www.confessionsanon.com. That's it. Just go there.